All right, let's dive in today. We're going way back to explore how ancient minds grappled with some big questions about the human experience.
Oh, yeah. Big question.
I've got some thought-provoking source material that looks at how both ancient philosophers and Jewish thinkers viewed the human mind.
The human mind.
And this idea of transformation.
Transformation, yeah.
It's like they were already wrestling with things that we still think about today. Willpower, self-control.
Even good and evil.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think by exploring their perspectives, we might gain some fresh insights into our own struggles.
And aspirations.
Yeah. Sometimes looking back can help us move forward.
Right. Absolutely. It's like standing on the shoulders of giants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To kick things off, something that really struck me was how much emphasis both the Stoics and Jewish thinkers placed on the power of belief.
Oh, that's so fascinating, isn't it? Almost like they were foreshadowing modern psychology in a way.
Oh, how so?
Well, today, we understand how much our beliefs shape our behavior, right? And these ancient thinkers, they were already recognizing that our core convictions...
Those deep-seated beliefs.
Exactly. They have a huge impact on our character.
And actions.
The Stoics, for instance, they viewed virtues as forms of knowledge.
Oh, interesting. So it wasn't just about doing good deeds. It was about, actually understanding what constitutes good in the first place.
Exactly. You had to have that knowledge. And on the flip side, they saw vices as stemming from ignorance.
So if someone was acting in a way considered morally wrong...
It's because they hadn't fully grasped the true nature of
good and evil.
Right. They hadn't achieved that true understanding. And get this, they even believed that true wisdom was all about understanding that virtue was the only real good and vice the only real evil.
Wow. Imagine structuring your whole life around that idea.
It's a radical notion when you think about it.
It really is.
Yeah.
But it makes you wonder how this emphasis on belief actually played out in their daily lives.
Right. Was it just a theoretical concept?
Or did it have practical implications?
Well, for the Stoics, it was much more than just theory.
Okay.
They believed that understanding these truths could actually help you control your emotions.
Control your emotions.
And face life's challenges with a calm and rational mind. They saw reason as the key to overcoming all those turbulent passions that could lead us astray.
So it's almost like having this mental framework.
This understanding of virtue and vice.
Acted as a sort of anchor in the storms of life.
Yeah. It's a powerful image, isn't it?
It really is, and one that's surprisingly relevant to us today,
Right.
Who wouldn't want a little more inner peace in the face of all the chaos we encounter?
Absolutely. And that actually brings us to another point.
Okay.
Both the Stoics and Jewish thinkers grappled with this concept of an inner struggle, this constant battle between reason
and passion.
Right. Our desires, our impulses.
I love the way they describe this using military imagery.
Oh, yeah. Like we're engaged in this inner warfare.
With reason on one side and our desires on the other.
It's such a vivid metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah, it really captures that feeling we all have,
Of being pulled in different directions.
Yeah.
Remember that example from one of our sources?
Good.
One of Socrates' admirers described the philosopher as a comrade in war.
A comrade in war.
Against harmful passions. It's like they're fighting side by side.
Against these internal enemies.
Exactly. And what's interesting is this concept wasn't just limited to the Greeks. Jewish thought had a similar idea. The Yetzer Hara. The evil inclination that constantly tempts humans toward wrongdoing.
So even though they might have used different terms, both the Stoics and Jewish thinkers recognize this internal battle, this back and forth.
There's push and pull within us.
But that brings up another question. If we're constantly being pulled in these different directions, how did they believe transformation was even possible? Could you actually win this inner war?
Now that's where things get really interesting. Despite this inner struggle, they both believed in the possibility of profound transformation.
Okay.
Not just about managing those impulses, but actually changing our minds.
Oh, wow. Like a mental makeover.
Exactly. Hitting the reset button on our inner compass.
I love it. But did they believe everyone could achieve this transformation?
Yeah.
Or was it only for
the philosophical elite?
Yeah.
That's a great question, and it seems they had a nuanced view.
Okay.
They definitely championed the potential for widespread change.
So they believed it was possible for everyone.
Yeah, but they also acknowledged that it wasn't a walk in the park. Transformation, they believed, was a process.
A journey of moral development.
Exactly.
So kind of like how a child's understanding of right and wrong evolves as they grow up, we don't just magically become morally mature overnight.
You got it. And the source material highlights how the Stoics believed that achieving true prudence or wisdom.
True prudence meaning?
Yeah. Was a gradual process of understanding the inherent value of virtue.
Okay.
And the detrimental nature of vice. It wasn't something you were born with, but something you cultivated over time.
So for them, it wasn't enough to just memorize the rules.
Nope.
You had to truly internalize them.
Exactly.
Like understand why they matter. What's the logic behind choosing virtue?
Right.
How does it actually benefit you and the world around you?
Precisely. And this process of moral development wasn't always smooth sailing.
Oh, I can imagine.
Often involved facing tough challenges and learning from our mistakes, like forging our character.
In the fires of experience.
Yes. Which, again, brings us back to that idea of the inner struggle. This ongoing dance between our desires and our reason.
Right.
This constant push and pull, that shapes who we become.
It's actually kind of reassuring to know that even those brilliant ancient thinkers recognized how tough this process can be.
Yeah. They weren't saying we should be perfect all the time, but rather that we should keep striving.
Keep learning.
Keep trying to align our choices.
With those higher principles.
Exactly. And what's really encouraging is that they believed we weren't alone in this struggle. Think back to that powerful image.
Of Socrates as a comrade in war.
Yeah. He wasn't fighting this battle solo. He had allies.
He had fellow warriors.
Striving alongside him.
And in the Jewish tradition.
They believed that God's Spirit could empower us to overcome those negative inclinations.
It's like having this divine source of support.
Exactly, in the midst of those inner battles.
So while they recognized the difficulty,
they also offered hope.
And support.
They didn't just point out the mountain we had to climb.
Right.
They offered tools and encouragement for the journey.
That's a beautiful concept. And it makes me wonder, did this hope extend beyond just personal transformation? Did they also see a connection between individual growth and
a better society as a whole?
Yes.
Absolutely. Their vision wasn't limited to individual enlightenment. They believed that if enough people achieved this kind of moral and spiritual renewal,
they could have a ripple effect.
Yes. Creating a more just and compassionate world.
Wow. So they were saying that personal transformation isn't just about improving ourselves.
It's about contributing to a larger...
social transformation.
Or exactly.
Like a collective awakening.
And it's a message that resonates deeply even today.
Yeah, it really does.
It's a call to recognize the power of individual choices.
And their potential to shape the world around us.
Precisely. But before we get too carried away with social transformation,
Yeah.
I think there's another key piece we haven't explored yet.
You mean like how these ancient thinkers actually viewed the nature of the mind itself?
Exactly. What was this battleground of ours?
What did they think it actually was?
Exactly.
Now we're really getting into the deep stuff. So what did they have to say about the nature of the mind?
Well, even back then, there were different schools of thought, but one common thread was this idea that the mind was something distinct from the body. Think of the mind-body dualism.
The mind-body dualism.
That's been debated for centuries. It was already a hot topic back then.
So they weren't just viewing the mind as like a product of the physical brain. They saw it as something separate, something more.
Exactly. And while the specifics varied, many ancient thinkers believed that the mind was more essential to our being than our physical bodies.
So it was the seat of our identity.
Our thoughts, our values, the core of who we are.
And that's why they place so much emphasis on cultivating the mind.
Precisely. It wasn't just about intellectual pursuits.
It was about shaping our very essence.
Exactly. Which makes me wonder, how did they view the relationship between this mind and the divine?
Oh, wow.
Did they believe our minds were somehow connected to something greater than ourselves?
Okay. Now that's a question that's really piqued my curiosity. What did those ancient minds have to say about the mind's connection to the divine? So we were talking about the mind's potential connection to something divine.
Right, right. Were we about to explore whether this connection meant they believed that humans were inherently good?
Oh, good point.
Or whether they recognized a darker side to human nature?
It's a question that's haunted philosophers for centuries. Are we born good and corrupted by the world?
Or is there something inherently flawed in us from the start?
What did these ancient thinkers have to say about all this?
Well, it seems like even back then, there were differing opinions on the whole good versus evil question, human nature, But one thing they did seem to agree on was that humans are complex, capable of both immense good and terrible evil.
So no easy answers there. It's not like they had it all figured out thousands of years ago.
Not at all. But what's interesting is they didn't shy away from this complexity.
So they acknowledged the paradox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they wrestled with it, debated it, tried to understand it.
Like how? Give me an example.
For example, the Stoics believed that while reason was our highest faculty, we were also susceptible to passions and desires that could lead us astray.
It's like that inner struggle we talked about earlier.
Exactly, that constant tug of war between,
our better angels and our darker impulses.
Yes. And for the Stoics, the struggle, it was simply part of the human experience.
Not something to be ashamed of.
No, not at all. Something to be understood and managed. They didn't believe in denying those darker impulses.
Right.
But rather...
in learning to control them.
Yeah, through reason, discipline.
So it wasn't about pretending we're all sunshine and rainbows.
Right, yeah.
It was about developing the tools to navigate the shadows.
Exactly, within ourselves.
And this idea of a struggle between good and evil. It wasn't limited to the Stoics, right?
Oh, right. In Jewish thought, they had this concept of the Yetzer Hara.
Yetzer Hara.
Which literally translates to evil inclination.
Evil inclination.
That inherent pull towards selfishness, greed, all those not-so-virtuous qualities.
But like the Stoics, they didn't believe we were just destined to be ruled by this evil inclination. Right?
Yeah, not at all. The Jewish thinkers believed in the possibility of redemption, transformation through God's grace. They saw the Yetzer Hara not as a life sentence, but as a challenge.
To overcome.
Yes. They believed in our capacity to choose good over evil, to rise above those baser instincts.
To strive for something higher.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most powerful takeaways from exploring these ancient perspectives.
Yeah, I agree.
They remind us that the human journey, it's full of complexities, contradictions, struggles, but they also offer hope, guidance, the belief that we're capable of becoming better.
Better versions of ourselves.
Yeah. It's amazing, isn't it? Even thousands of years ago, they were grappling with these very human questions.
These enduring questions.
Yeah. And finding ways to reconcile our capacity for both good and evil.
It's incredible to think how these ideas from so long ago can still resonate with us.
I know, right?
Like they offer this framework for understanding ourselves and navigating the complexities of being human.
They remind us that this journey of self-discovery, this wrestling with our inner demons, this striving for something better, it connects us all.
Across time and cultures.
It truly is remarkable. And it highlights the enduring power of these questions.
About human nature.
Yeah, about good and evil, the very essence of what it means to be alive.
Well said. These ancient thinkers, they weren't just like theorizing in some ivory tower.
No, they were dealing with real stuff.
They were grappling with real-life questions, the messiness of human existence, trying to find ways to live more meaningful.
Virtuous lives.
And their insights, their struggles, they can still offer us guidance, inspiration, even today.
Absolutely. And it's a journey that we're all on together. We're all part of this ongoing human story, this quest for understanding ourselves in the world.
So well said. Well, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into ancient thought. We've covered so much ground today.
From the Stoics to the Yetzer Hara.
From the power of belief to the complexities of human nature. It's been quite a journey.
It has.
And I hope our listeners will continue to ponder these ideas and how they might apply to their own lives.
Right. Think about what resonated with you. What challenged you? What insights will you carry forward?
And remember, this is just the beginning. There's always more to learn, more to explore, more to discover.
About ourselves and the world.
So keep questioning. Keep seeking.
And keep diving deep.
And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe to The Deep Dive for more thought-provoking explorations. And don't forget to share this episode with anyone who might appreciate a little ancient wisdom, for the modern world.
Thanks for joining us on this fascinating journey.
Until next time, keep exploring.